Welcome to a quiet journey far beyond the familiar glow of the Sunday. A place where nothing rushes, nothing demands your attention, and nothing asks anything of you. For the next 2 hours, you are safe. You are held, and you are free to drift as slowly as you want to. Take a moment to settle into a comfortable position. Let your body sink just a little deeper into whatever is supporting you. You don't have to force anything. Relaxation happens naturally when you allow yourself to rest. And right now, rest is all that matters. If it feels comfortable, take a slow breath in through your nose, letting the air slide quietly into your chest. And let it release softly, gently, like a faint breeze moving through the dark. There's no right or wrong way to breathe. Just follow whatever rhythm feels peaceful, effortless, and natural. With every exhale, imagine tension melting from your shoulders, your jaw, your hands, your stomach, everything growing slightly heavier, slightly warmer, slightly softer. The mind quiets, the body unwinds, and the night becomes a little deeper around you. Now imagine yourself drifting slowly upward, away from the world. The colors of Earth grow dimmer, the edges soften, like a lantern fading behind a curtain. You feel no gravity, no weight, only the gentle sensation of floating through the quiet. The sky around you expands into a vast, dark ocean. Stars shimmer like distant dust. Their light is calm, patient, ancient. There is no sound except a soft hum, like the low heartbeat of the universe. It's steady, comforting, familiar, even if you've never heard it before. You move without effort, without direction, without urgency, just drifting, slowly, smoothly, peacefully. Your breath aligns with the darkness, growing long and steady. Your thoughts loosen, drifting apart like grains of sand in a silent tide. And as you glide deeper into space, the inner solar system falls away behind you. The noise of daily life becomes remote, fading into nothing. Every mile carries you farther from worry, closer to quiet, closer to stillness, closer to sleep. Ahead of you lies the vast outer frontier, a place where sunlight grows thin, where planets move like dim lanterns in a cold sea, and where the Kuiper Belt waits an ancient ring of ice, untouched and unchanged since the beginning of time. But there is no need to reach it quickly. This journey isn't about arriving. It's about drifting, breathing, letting go, allowing the darkness to cradle you, letting space hold you gently, like a soft blanket drawn across your thoughts. You move forward slowly, wrapped in calm, carried by the quiet. Nothing interrupts you. Nothing breaks the flow. You are simply drifting deeper into the night and deeper into rest. As you drift farther beyond Neptune's deep blue glow, the universe around you becomes even quieter. The last warm trace of sunlight fades into a gentle, silvery whisper. Everything begins to feel slower, softer, almost as if time itself has chosen to rest alongside you. The space ahead grows darker, not in a frightening way, but in the calming way of a quiet room, lit only by the faintest glow of distant stars. You continue drifting effortlessly, carried by the silence. The vastness stretches out in every direction, but it no longer feels empty. It feels embracing, like a peaceful sea without waves, holding you gently as you glide across its still surface. The deeper you move into the outer frontier, the more the quiet begins to settle inside you, sinking into your mind the way cool water sinks into warm sand. Your breathing remains slow and natural, in and out, like a soft tide washing across the shore of your thoughts. There is no hurry. Nothing chases you. Nothing pulls you. You simply drift, floating weightlessly through an ocean of stars. Ahead, the darkness begins to shimmer very faintly. At first, it's barely noticeable, just tiny flecks of pale light blinking softly far away, like frost catching the edge of distant starlight. These are the first grains of the Kuiper Belt, small fragments of ice and rock, drifting quietly at the edge of everything familiar. They move slowly, gently, like particles floating in a beam of moonlight. As you approach, these tiny specks become a little clearer. They are ancient, older than Earth, older than the planets, older than almost anything you know. Frozen memories from the earliest days of the solar system, preserved in silence. They don't rush. They don't collide violently. They simply drift, just as you do, carried by the calm darkness. You glide deeper among them. Some pieces are no larger than grains of sand. Others are the size of mountains. But from where you float, they all seem small, softened by distance and by the stillness of the night. The light that reaches them is faint, only a thin ghost of the sun's warmth, but it's enough to make them glimmer softly, a field of frozen sparks, suspended in eternal quiet. The darkness here feels different, heavier, denser, and yet somehow comforting. It wraps around you like a velvet curtain, blocking out the last remnants of noise from the inner solar system. This is a quieter place, a gentler place, a place where thoughts naturally slow, drifting apart until they become soft shadows at the edge of your awareness. You drift past a cluster of icy fragments turning slowly in space. Their surfaces are rough, crystalline, shaped by billions of years of silence. They catch the faint starlight and scatter it in soft glows, like candlelight passing through frosted glass. They rotate gracefully, effortlessly, as if the universe itself is rocking them gently to sleep. Your breath stays slow and steady. Each inhale feels cooler, calmer, more expansive. Each exhale feels heavier, releasing even the tiniest pieces of tension from the day. You may notice your eyelids growing softer, heavier. You may feel your body melting deeper into rest. This is normal. This is good. This is the natural pull of deep relaxation. As you float farther in, one of the larger objects begins to take shape ahead of you. It's not enormous, but it has presence. A soft, muted sphere drifting through the quiet like a lonely lantern. Its surface is pale, textured like powdered snow pressed into ancient stone. This is one of the many nameless bodies in the Kuiper Belt, a world too small to be a planet, too quiet to be noticed from afar, yet beautiful in its solitude. You drift around it slowly, as if circling a sleeping creature. Cracks lace its icy crust like delicate veins, branching out into intricate patterns that glimmer faintly in the dark. Frozen methane, frozen nitrogen, frozen water, all layered and intertwined, capturing the very first materials the young solar system once carried. You sense its coldness, but not in a way that makes you uncomfortable. It is a clean coldness, a quiet coldness, like stepping outside at night after fresh snowfall, when the world feels still and untouched. The object spins slowly beneath you, its rotation steady and unhurried. It has been turning like this for billions of years, and will continue for billions more. As you drift away from it, the darkness thickens again. The glowing fragments become sparse for a moment, leaving you surrounded by calm, empty silence. It's like entering a deep exhale of the universe itself, a moment where everything pauses, everything softens, everything simply rests. You float in that stillness, letting it soak into your thoughts, letting it loosen the grip of anything that remains tense. Allow yourself to feel weightless, supported, quiet. Let your mind drift gently, the same way your body drifts through this starless pocket of space. Then, ahead, more objects begin to appear, slightly larger this time. Their shapes are uneven, rugged, sculpted by slow collisions and gentle gravitational nudges. They hover like frozen islands in a black ocean. As you draw closer, you see that some are dark, coated in organic material that absorbs nearly all light. Others are bright and reflective, icy worlds shimmering in faint blues and silvers. They drift together in loose harmony, never touching, never rushing. Each world keeps its distance, gliding in its own path. From afar, they look like a slow dance, an ancient ballet choreographed by gravity and time. Your breathing sinks naturally to this slow movement. You feel your chest rise and fall in a rhythm that matches the quiet spin of these frozen bodies. In this moment, you and the Kuiper Belt move as one. both drifting, both unhurried, both suspended in the deep, silent cradle of space. One world stands out as you pass nearer. It has a faint reddish tint, muted, soft, warm in contrast to the cold around it. The surface is sprinkled with patches of frost that glint like powdered ruby. This body is older than imagination, untouched by atmosphere, untouched by warmth, and yet something about it feels welcoming, familiar, like a warm ember glowing in the dark. You glide past slowly, admiring the quiet beauty of its isolation. No storms disturb its surface, no winds carve its plains. Just slow, steady rotation, and a silence so deep it feels like it could cradle every restless thought you've ever had. You continue drifting through fields of ancient ice, each fragment telling a story older than any world you've known. Some are remnants of formation, some are lost pieces of worlds that never formed. Some may even hold the chemicals that once seeded the earliest ingredients of life. But none of that needs to be studied or analyzed tonight. Tonight, these objects simply exist as companions on your slow journey into rest. As you drift deeper, the belt grows thicker again. More particles shimmer around you. More icy bodies fade in and out of the dim light. The space feels rich, textured, almost alive in its stillness. Not a living thing in the biological sense, more like a presence. The presence of age, the presence of time, the presence of patience. The quiet here is different from any quiet in the inner solar system. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of peace, a deep, enveloping peace that wraps around your mind like a soft blanket. Every thought becomes slower, every muscle heavier, every breath deeper. There is nothing to do, nothing to decide, nothing to solve, just drifting. Drifting through a cosmic field of frozen sparks. Drifting through history older than memory. Drifting toward deeper rest. Let the quiet hold you. Let the darkness soothe you. Let yourself drift deeper into calm. As you drift farther through the quiet outskirts of the solar system, a soft golden glow begins to form ahead of you. It is not bright, not sharp, not sudden. It rises gently, like morning light behind a thin curtain. The darkness around you remains calm, but now it carries a subtle warmth, something familiar, something serene, something ancient. And slowly, gracefully, Saturn begins to appear. At first, you can see only the faintest hint of color, a pale gold, muted and delicate, blending almost seamlessly into the surrounding black. Then, as you drift closer, the shape takes form, a giant sphere wrapped in soft layers of cloud, each band moving so slowly it seems frozen in time. Saturn does not glow boldly like Jupiter, nor shimmer with harsh brightness. Instead, it glows the way a candle glows at the far end of a long room, soft, diffused, comforting. And far before your eyes can focus on the planet itself, the rings emerge. They appear as the thinnest silver line stretching across the darkness. So faint you almost question whether you're imagining them. But the line grows broader, clearer, revealing itself as a vast halo of ice, dust, and dreams. The rings are impossibly thin, so thin they almost vanish when viewed from certain angles. Yet they stretch out tens of thousands of miles into space, forming one of the most graceful structures in the entire solar system. A world of silent rings. The phrase echoes softly in your mind, as if carried by the same quiet current that moves you forward. Saturn's rings are not loud. They do not blaze with color or roar with energy. They whisper. Their beauty comes not from intensity, but from stillness, an elegance found only in places untouched by noise. As you float closer, the rings become more detailed, more textured. From afar, they appear smooth, seamless, like a perfect disk. But up close, they reveal themselves as countless tiny particles, chips of ice, grains of dust, fragments of ancient moons, each one reflecting the faint sunlight in its own gentle way. They sparkle like frost spread across an endless field. Their glimmers are soft, never sharp, like the glow of snow under a pale moon. Your movement is slow, weightless, effortless. You drift on a silent path that brings you near the edge of the rings. They feel almost like a mist, thin, ethereal, shimmering. You glide through the outer edges, and the tiny particles around you catch the dim light, glowing like suspended diamonds. They move so slowly that they seem to float in place, even though they travel at incredible speeds around the planet. But here, in this dreamlike state, all motion becomes gentle. Imagine a camera drifting with you, moving through these dust-laden bands. The focus softens, then sharpens, capturing the delicate sparkles that flash for just a moment before fading into darkness again. The lens turns slightly, revealing layers, thousands of thin, overlapping sheets of icy particles, each one tracing a perfect circle around the giant planet. They look like ripples, preserved in frozen time, untouched by wind, unchanged by chaos. The silence is deeper here. It feels almost sacred. The rings have no sound, not even a whisper. If you reached your hand out, you imagine you could brush your fingers through the icy dust, scattering glitter into the void. The particles would drift slowly, lazily, as though reluctant to leave their ancient orbits. A world of silent rings. The phrase continues to return, soothing, grounding, gentle. Each time it echoes through your thoughts, your breath grows softer, smoother. Your body sinks deeper into the quiet. The rings feel like a lullaby made of light. Now, Saturn fills more of your vision. You drift above the rings, moving with them as they rotate endlessly below. The planet's upper clouds are soft streaks of muted gold and pale beige, wrapped around a massive sphere that rotates slowly, steadily, like a calm breath of the universe. There is no rush here, only the rhythm of patience. Even Saturn's storms, though colossal, appear faint from this distance, softened by layers of mist and light. You glide downward, approaching the plane of the rings. The sunlight behind you is faint, but still enough to illuminate them from the side, transforming the ice particles into a luminous band stretching across space. They appear almost two-dimensional, so thin, so delicate, that they resemble the stroke of a painter's brush across a dark canvas. You drift parallel to them, floating at ring height. The view stretches to infinity on both sides, an endless sheet of shimmering frost wrapping around the giant planet. Each particle moves on its own path, yet together they form a perfect pattern, as though choreographed by a silent, ancient dance. The rings are not uniform. Some areas are bright and dense, sparkling like piles of crushed crystal. Others are sparse, where only a few icy grains drift quietly. Shadows form where the rings overlap, creating soft, dark streaks across Saturn's upper atmosphere. These shadows slide slowly as the planet rotates beneath them, like gentle brushstrokes painted across the golden clouds. A world of silent rings. As the phrase hums through your mind, you drift deeper into the heart of the rings. The particles here are larger, some the size of pebbles, some the size of boulders, some even larger still. They float beside you, around you, above and below you, each one shimmering with a faint glow. The light they reflect is not bright. It is the quiet glimmer of cold ice kissed by distant sunlight. The camera of your imagination follows you gently. It rotates slowly, capturing angles that shift from glistening highlights to deep, serene shadows. Sometimes the particles appear like a thin fog, sometimes like snowflakes suspended in a frozen breeze, sometimes like fragments of shattered mirrors reflecting a memory of the Sunday. Your breath sinks with the movement, in as the rings brighten, out as they darken again, in with the faint sparkle, out into the soft shadow. Everything becomes rhythm. Everything becomes drift. Everything becomes softness. As you glide forward, the rings begin to separate into multiple thin bands, A, B, C, and even fainter layers. They stack like sheets of glass, each etched with unique patterns of dust and ice. You can see through some of them like seeing through frosted windows. Others are dense, opaque, shimmering with soft white light. You float beneath the rings now. Above you stretches a radiant arc, glowing like a frozen rainbow. made entirely of light. The silhouette of Saturn looms beyond the arch, vast and gentle, a sleeping giant wrapped in gold. Its glow reflects off the underside of the rings, turning them into a soft halo, framing the darkness. Slowly, the shadow of the planet slides across the rings. It is a smooth, dark curve that bends across the icy particles, dimming them into charcoal gray. The shadow feels cool, peaceful, like stepping into shade on a warm afternoon. Your mind relaxes even more, sinking deeper into the quiet. A world of silent rings. The thought drifts through your awareness again. Each time it returns, it feels softer, more dreamlike, more hypnotic. The rings truly are silent. Despite the countless particles spinning around the planet, despite their endless motion, there is no sound, only calm. You drift upward once more, rising toward the sunlight side of the rings. As the angle shifts, the particles glow more brightly, flashing like tiny bursts of silver. They scatter light in every direction, creating a subtle shimmer that looks almost like fine dust swirling in a sunbeam. But here, in the vacuum of space, the dust does not swirl, it simply floats, gliding on invisible currents of gravity. The rings stretch farther than your eyes can follow. They form a perfect circle, unbroken, unwavering, like a celestial embrace around the pale giant. You pass through thinner regions where the ice particles are spaced far apart. The darkness between them is deep and soft, making each tiny reflection stand out more clearly. Then you drift into denser regions where the particles gather like frosted clouds. The light shifts again as you move. The glow becomes warmer, then cooler, then almost white. Sometimes the rings appear satin smooth. Sometimes they appear grainy, textured, layered. No two moments look the same. This entire region is alive with subtle beauty. A world of silent rings. The phrase becomes a mantra, echoing in rhythm with your breath. You feel it in your chest, in your shoulders, in the soft stillness of your mind. The rings seem to whisper it to you, though they make no sound. You may even feel your eyelids growing heavier, your body relaxing more deeply as the calmness surrounds you. You drift closer once more, letting the particles pass by at arm's reach. Some are small and bright, others are dark and shadowy. Together, they move in harmony, forming a river of ancient ice circling endlessly around the golden world. You float over the thin outer ring, watching it glow in a faint blue tint as sunlight filters through it. The ice here is smaller, finer, almost powdery. It looks like mist suspended in moonlit air. You drift through it slowly, letting the shimmer pass around you like fireflies drifting in the night. Then you glide toward the wider, denser rings. They appear solid from afar, but up close they reveal an intricate dance, countless particles, gently pushing, pulling, guiding one another. Gravity shapes them into order, time smooths their patterns, and silence wraps them, preserving their calm for billions of years. The rings are ancient, older than every human story, older than memory, yet they are delicate, thin enough that a single impact, given enough time, could erase them. Their beauty feels temporary, yet eternal, fragile, yet unchanging. Saturn rotates slowly beneath you. The golden clouds swirl faintly, like soft cream folding into itself. The shadows of the rings wrap around the planet's surface in dark bands, stretching long and thin across the atmosphere. They look like gentle fingerprints pressed into the planet's glow. A world of silent rings. The phrase returns once more, and with it comes a deeper calm, a heavier stillness, a softness that settles into your chest and spreads. The rings are not merely beautiful, they are restful. Their symmetry, their silence, their softness, everything about them invites the mind to slow down, to drift, to let go. And so you drift, through pale gold light, through shimmering dust, through shadows that slide like silk, through the quiet embrace of a giant wrapped in rings. There is no urgency, no destination you must reach, no thought you must follow. Only drifting, only silence. Only light moving through ice. Only the soft whisper, repeating itself inside your peaceful mind. A world of silent rings. As Saturn's pale golden glow fades softly behind you, the darkness stretches forward once more, wrapping you in its cool, silent embrace. You drift, with no effort, carried by a gentle current of nothingness, surrounded by the endless black ocean of space. The rings, with all their shimmering voices of quiet light, slowly disappear into the distance, becoming only a faint memory of motion and reflection. The space ahead feels colder, softer, deeper. Sunlight grows weaker the farther you travel, thinning into a pale silver haze. It brushes across your skin like a cool breath, subtle and delicate. Your body grows lighter, calmer, more open to the silence settling around you. Every breath moves slowly, expanding gently, fading out like a tide returning to the sea. And then, faintly, a soft blue glow appears. It begins as the smallest hint of color, barely visible against the black, a pale spot hovering in the distance, almost mistaken for a star. But as you drift closer, the glow expands, becoming a smooth disk of light, soft, hazy, dreamlike. It doesn't shine sharply like Jupiter, nor shimmer like Saturn. Instead, it glows with a powdered, muted blue, gentle and calming, like distant ocean water under moonlight. This is Uranus, a world colored in the shade of a quiet breath, a planet wrapped in soft frost and endless calm, a pale blue sleep drifting at the edge of the familiar solar system. As you approach, the planet grows larger, filling more of your vision. Its surface has no storms like Jupiter's, no rings as brilliant as Saturn's, just a calm, cool face of bluish haze. For a moment, it resembles a marble carved from ice, smoothed by time, softened by distance. It looks peaceful, silent, almost shy. You drift closer, and something feels different. The planet isn't upright like most worlds. It lies on its side, tilted so deeply that its poles point where its equator should be. This unique angle makes Uranus feel more like a sleeping giant than a spinning one, resting quietly in the dark, slowly turning as though caught in a perpetual dream. Its tilt gives the light a strange, poetic effect. Sunlight brushes across its surface sideways, creating long, soft gradients of blue and turquoise. The colors shift subtly, like the surface of deep water stirred by a gentle hand. The entire world feels like a calm ocean sphere drifting through the night. Your movement slows as you approach the upper cloud layers, clouds made not of vapor like Earth's, but of methane, cold and smooth, forming a uniform blanket across the entire planet. They drift slowly, with little turbulence, like soft waves frozen in motion. There is no chaos here, no loud storms, almost no features at all, just stillness. You drift around the equator, gliding along its serene blue curve. The clouds are barely visible up close. They blend into one another so gently that the boundaries vanish. It feels like looking at the surface of a gemstone, polished, calm, flawless. Your breath syncs with the rotation of the planet, slow, steady, unhurried. A quiet rhythm, like the pulse of a sleeping universe. As you circle the planet, soft white rings begin to appear, thin, faint, subtle. They are not grand like Saturn's, but rather delicate threads of light, barely visible unless the angle is just right. When the sunlight hits them, they glow with a soft ivory shimmer, like strands of silk floating against a blue backdrop. You glide closer to these thin rings, watching the icy particles within them drift slowly along their orbits. They reflect just enough light to sparkle gently, like tiny pearls suspended in darkness. The rings feel intimate, like secrets whispered by the planet itself, quiet, unobtrusive, soft enough not to disturb the silence around you. Beneath the rings, Uranus turns slowly. Its motion feels hypnotic, gentle, deliberate, always steady. The tilted axis creates a dreamlike pattern. Instead of spinning upright, the planet rolls on its side, like a sleeping figure turning in bed. The clouds do not churn rapidly. Instead, they glide with a quiet patience that soothes your senses. You drift past the day side and into the blue twilight near the terminator, the line between day and night. Here, the colors deepen, shifting from pale aqua to indigo, like blending inks in water. The transition is smooth, seamless, calming. If you reach out your hand in your imagination, it feels as though you could dip your fingers into the gradient, swirling the shades gently without disturbing the peace. Farther ahead, the night side of Uranus stretches like a vast canvas of dark blue velvet. No storms are visible here, no glowing bands or flashing lights, only a soft, shadowed calm. The planet's faint internal heat gives the darkness a slight warmth, but only enough to suggest depth, not enough to break the quiet. Your drifting path takes you beneath the ring plane now, allowing you to look upward at the thin ribbons of shimmering dust. The rings appear almost white from this angle, glowing with a soft, ghostly radiance. Tiny particles catch what few rays of sunlight they can, scattering the light in delicate patterns across the shadowed face of the planet. These glimmers look like tiny stars reflected on the smooth surface of a lake. You float beneath them, the gentle arc curving above like a halo of powdered starlight. There is no sound here, not even the suggestion of motion. The silence is perfect. You may notice your own breath growing slower as you drift. Your body grows heavier, your mind lighter, your thoughts quieter. The soft blue of Uranus seems to wash over you, calming everything it touches. As you move around the planet's shadow, you encounter the first of its moons. Miranda drifts quietly nearby, a small, fractured world marked with canyons and ridges, yet softened by distance into a gentle gray shape. It floats with you, moving slowly across the planet's silhouette. It feels like a tiny companion guiding you farther into the calm. Farther out, Ariel circles with delicate precision. Its icy surface reflects faint light, making it appear like a small pearl gliding in the dark. The moon's glow is soft, almost sky-like. Its orbit is silent and steady. Umbriel, darker and moodier, drifts by as a deep gray shadow against the night. Titania and Oberon follow larger moons, pale and dignified, gliding in elegant arcs. Their presence feels comforting, like guardians of this distant, peaceful realm. As you drift through the moon system, you sense the quiet harmony between these worlds. Nothing collides, nothing rushes. Everything moves with slow, fluid grace. Even the gravitational pulls that shape their orbits feel gentle. You drift back toward Uranus, letting its pale blue fill your vision once more. From this distance, it appears softer than ever, a smooth sphere of calm light resting on its side. Its surface reflects the faint glow of distant stars, giving it the look of a lantern wrapped in frost. The planet feels cool, peaceful, almost sleepy. It holds a quiet that sinks deep into your mind, the kind of quiet that lingers long after the noise of the world has faded. You may feel your thoughts growing heavier again, like feathers settling onto a still surface. You may feel your breathing deepening, smoothing, slowing into a steady rhythm. As you float just above the cloud tops, the blue begins to lighten again, touched by the faintest hint of turquoise. These subtle colors shift and blend, swirling in patterns too slow to measure. Every moment feels stretched, elongated, softened. There is no urgency anywhere. You drift closer, imagining your hands skimming just above the planet's atmosphere, feeling not resistance, but coolness, like brushing your fingers across a flat pool of calm water. The atmosphere itself seems to breathe slowly, expanding and contracting in an almost imperceptible rhythm. Nothing disrupts you. Nothing disturbs the soft blue world. Nothing interrupts your drifting. You circle once more around the rings. Their thin arcs glow like threads of silver silk, suspended against the darkness. The icy particles glint gently, scattered reflections of a sun too faint to be seen clearly. The rings are delicate, fragile, enchanting in their simplicity. They make no sound, but their presence feels musical, like a quiet lullaby carried by the light. A world of silent rings. Though Saturn carries the famous title, Uranus has its own version, subtle, gentle, understated. Rings that whisper instead of sing. Rings that cradle the planet in soft lines of light. As you float above them, you feel the calm deepen. The blue glow fills your senses. The faint sparkles drift through your awareness. Everything around you becomes softness, stillness, sleep. You drift away from the rings and back toward the shadowed side of the planet. The darkness here is soothing, a deep blue-black that feels like a blanket drawn across the sky. Stars peek out faintly around the silhouette, tiny points of silver scattered across a canvas of ink. You float in this peaceful pocket of night, letting the gentle silence deepen within you. Your body feels far away now, as if made of the same soft dust that fills the quiet regions of space. Your mind feels open, drifting slowly like a leaf carried by a calm river. Uranus rotates below you, completing its slow, steady turn. Night becomes day, day becomes night. The cycle moves with such grace that it almost feels like breathing. You follow its rhythm naturally, intuitively, without effort. The pale blue sphere slowly begins to fade behind you as you drift farther outward. But its calmness lingers, soft shades of blue settling in your thoughts, the slow rotation echoing in your breath. Even as the planet becomes smaller, its serenity remains with you. You continue drifting into the dark, calm, rested, carried by the quiet, and the pale blue world behind you whispers softly in your mind, a final lullaby carried through the silence. Sleep, drift, and rest in the quiet blue. As the pale blue glow of Uranus slowly fades behind you, the darkness ahead deepens once more, expanding into an endless, quiet ocean. It stretches outward in all directions, a vast, cool void where time seems to dissolve, and every lingering thought drifts like dust in a soft current. Here, at this distance, sunlight has grown thin and weary, a faint whisper rather than a warm voice. The darkness is not harsh. It is deep, velvety, and peaceful, like the quietest hours before dawn. You move through this darkness without effort. You drift as though carried by invisible tides, slow, smooth, weightless. There is no pull, no push, only gentle motion, as if the universe itself is rocking you into deeper and deeper rest. Your breathing mirrors this movement, long inhales that feel cool and spacious, and soft exhales that melt tension from your chest. Far ahead, something begins to appear. At first, it's only a deeper pocket of darkness, a shape barely distinguishable from the space around it. But then, slowly, very slowly, a blue glow begins to gather. It rises from the black like ink, dissolving into water, rich and deep and alive. Not the pale, shy blue of Uranus, but a more profound shade, an ocean blue, a midnight blue, a blue with weight and depth. This is Neptune, the last great planet, the final blue lantern of the solar system. A world wrapped in winds and cold and mystery, yet somehow calm in its enormity. As you drift closer, the blue deepens, becoming almost luminous, like light shining through layers of calm water. The edges soften before sharpening again, revealing a massive sphere turning steadily in the dark. Neptune's surface is not solid, it is a swirling world of gas and cloud, sculpted into smooth, dark ribbons. But even these storms, though immense, appear gentle from here. Their motion is fluid, rhythmic, beautiful. You approach until the planet fills much of your vision, a giant marble suspended in blackness. Its color is mesmerizing, a hue found nowhere else. A deep cobalt mixed with quiet turquoise, touched by subtle shadows that give the world a sense of great depth. It feels like looking into the heart of a calm but powerful sea. There is something soothing in this color, something grounding, something ancient. You drift closer, and the clouds resolve into delicate layers, thin streaks that wind around the planet in slow, sweeping arcs. Some move a little faster, some almost not at all. They mix like pigments drifting through still water, shades of deep blue, midnight blue, dusty blue, all shifting in gentle motion. It feels as though the planet is breathing. Your own breath aligns with it. In, a wave of cold, quiet blue washes through you. Out, your body sinks a little deeper into the calm. You glide toward the sunlit portion of Neptune, where the blue intensifies into a radiant glow. Here, sunlight, though weak, illuminates the tops of the clouds, creating soft gradients across their curved surfaces. The outer layers shine with a subtle iridescence. The deeper layers remain shadowed, giving the atmosphere depth like the folds of deep water. You drift along the cloud tops, your motion smooth and almost dreamlike. Each swirl of color beneath you moves with a natural rhythm, as if guided by invisible hands. The planet whispers nothing but calm, and the quiet sinks deeper into your thoughts. Then, from behind a curve of the planet, a faint glow appears, a small but bright fleck of blue-white light. As you float closer, it grows into a tiny sphere, Triton, Neptune's largest moon. Triton drifts through space with serene precision. Its surface is pale, almost ivory, marked with patterns that look like frozen winds etched across its crust. It circles Neptune in a gentle arc, moving opposite the direction of the planet's rotation, a quiet defiance, a backward dance in the deep. You glide toward Triton for a moment, watching the dim sunlight kiss its frozen plains. Faint plumes of nitrogen rise softly from its surface like ghostly geysers, drifting upward before falling back in slow-motion arcs. Even these movements feel calm, unhurried. They dissolve quickly in the cold vacuum, leaving no chaos behind. You continue drifting around Neptune. The planet's shadowed side emerges, plunging you into a region of deep, dark blue. Here, the world seems carved from night itself. The faintest light from distant stars reflects off the upper clouds, giving the darkness a soft sheen. It looks like velvet, like ink, like sleep. You float over the terminator, the boundary between day and night, where the last traces of sunlight fade into shadow. The line is feathered, subtle, blending sky and night like two tones mixing gently on a painter's palette. You glide across this boundary, feeling the gradual dimming of light as a gentle tug inside your mind, inviting you deeper into stillness. The winds down below move fast, nearly supersonic, but from here they look like slow, drifting rivers of color. You see a faint storm swirling within the blue depths. Its edges curl like the petals of a flower, shaped by forces you cannot hear. Yet there is beauty in its motion, a hypnotic pattern that draws your gaze softly inward. Its presence does not disturb the peace. Instead, it adds to the sense of ancient rhythm. Your breathing slows again. Soft, deep, calm. The blue world beneath you rotates, revealing more of its smooth, flowing surface. Neptune seems almost weightless despite its mass, floating in the blackness like a glowing dream. It carries an aura of solitude, distant, quiet, content. As you drift above the cloud tops, small hints of color appear within the blue, tiny wisps of white, faint shadows of deeper storms, muted hints of purple, where the light bends differently through methane clouds. Everything is subtle here. Nothing is loud. Nothing is sharp. Neptune is a place of quiet movements. You drift closer to the upper atmosphere, imagining yourself lowering toward the blue haze. The air, though poisonous and frigid, feels visually soft, almost touchable. You can picture your hand sinking slightly into the top of the clouds, stirring only the faintest ripple that vanishes instantly back into silence. The darkness surrounding the planet holds you gently. Even the emptiness feels warm in its calm. There is no fear in this vast distance from the Sunday, only tranquility. You drift beneath Neptune now, gazing up at its enormous blue curve. From below, the light plays differently across the cloud bands. The underside glows like the deep part of an ocean cave, cool and shadowed and serene. The faint rings of Neptune, dimmer than those of Uranus, appear as barely visible arcs, shimmering just enough to catch your attention. You float beneath them, letting their spectral glow pass overhead. Each ring is a thin thread of icy dust circling the planet endlessly. Their faintness makes them even more hypnotic, small whispers of light against a massive blue world. Your drifting takes you slowly across the shadowed region where the sunlight can no longer reach. Here, Neptune becomes a silhouette of deep blue-black, its outline soft and rounded, blending into the darkness around it. The planet seems almost to dissolve into space. Only gentle gradients reveal its presence. You float there for a moment, suspended in the stillness, letting the calm of this distant world seep into you. The quiet grows thicker. Your thoughts drift slower. Your body feels heavier and softer, as if gravity itself has dimmed into a warm, gentle pull. Neptune turns slowly beneath you, its rotation steady and hypnotic. The blues shift subtly as the planet rolls forward, revealing new patterns, new shadows, new movements of cloud. Yet everything remains gentle, elegant, even. As you drift upward again toward the sunlit side, the blue brightens once more. The faint clouds glow as if lit from within, and Neptune becomes a lantern in the darkness, warming the cold space around it with its serene presence. You feel its calm inside you. You feel its rhythm. You feel the softness of its colors brushing against your drifting thoughts. There is nothing to do, nothing to remember, nothing to solve, only drifting and breathing and surrendering to the quiet. You drift farther away now, Neptune slowly shrinking behind you, but its blue remains in your mind, painting your thoughts in soft hues. You carry the calm of its deep oceans with you, the slow, steady movement of its clouds, the colder shades of night that rocked you gently as you passed. The last blue world grows smaller, softer, dimmer, until it becomes a glowing dot against the infinite dark. Yet the peace it gave you lingers, filling your body with quiet heaviness and your mind with silent ease. Ahead is the gateway to the outer frontier, a place even quieter than this, even darker, even more serene. And you drift forward, carried by calm, wrapped in deep blue sleep, ready to enter the ancient realm of frozen light. As Neptune's deep blue glow slowly fades behind you, the darkness ahead deepens into something even quieter than before. The last great planet becomes a shrinking sphere of cobalt, its soft light dimming with each moment as you drift farther outward. Soon, it becomes no more than a faint blue ember, glowing gently at the edge of memory, half swallowed by the vastness of space. And then, the darkness takes over completely. Not a harsh darkness, not a frightening darkness, but a soft, enveloping darkness, gentle as velvet, deep as sleep. Here, the sun is little more than a distant pin of pale light. Its warmth barely reaches you now. Its golden glow, once strong and familiar, is reduced to the thinnest thread, a faint whisper stretching across billions of miles. The shadows around you are no longer defined. Instead, they blend seamlessly with the background of the universe, forming a quiet sea of black that cradles you like a vast, weightless bed. You drift slowly through this cool expanse, suspended in a place where even time feels diluted. Your thoughts, too, begin to soften, stretching into long, gentle shapes that fade as soon as they form. The silence becomes a presence, steady, comforting, patient. The transition zone between Neptune and the Kuiper Belt is one of the quietest regions in the entire solar system. It is a place where nothing stirs quickly, where light travels a long way to reach even the smallest particles, and where your drifting momentum feels as natural as the breath in your chest. You allow yourself to glide forward, carried by the invisible line of motion that pulls you deeper into the night. There is no gravity tugging at you sharply, no wind, no sound. Only the soft hum of your breath and the faint vibration of existence itself. You can feel the coolness of the void not as cold pain, but as clarity, a cleansing coolness, like stepping into a still, moonlit lake. It washes through your mind, pushing away the last remnants of noise left from the inner solar system. Your shoulders settle, your jaw loosens, your hands grow warmer and heavier. The sensation is gentle, soothing, almost hypnotic. Ahead of you is nothing but dark. But in this dark, there is peace. A peace older than any world. A peace shaped by billions of years of silence. You drift deeper into it, letting the weightlessness cradle you. The further you float, the more everything slows your breaths, your thoughts, even your sense of movement. Space becomes soft. You become lighter. The silence deepens until it feels like a warm blanket wrapped around your mind. You look back for a moment. Neptune is almost gone now. A dim pin of blue light swallowed by distance. Its calm remains with you, but the world itself has dissolved into memory. Ahead lies a vast open frontier, untouched and enormous. You are moving toward the threshold of the Kuiper Belt, though you have not yet crossed it. Between the planets and the belt lies a region where matter is sparse, a dark corridor stretching endlessly. Tiny particles drift through this emptiness, each one a frozen fragment from the beginning of time. They are small, faint, and few, but they shimmer softly when the thin sunlight touches them, tiny sparks in a sea of black. You glide toward one such speck. It glints like a grain of ice suspended in the void, turning slowly as it drifts along its ancient orbit. Its movements are smooth, graceful, almost sleepy. You pass it with ease, watching its faint light flicker once before disappearing behind you. As you continue drifting, more specks appear far apart, spaced by vast gaps of emptiness, yet each one carrying a subtle glow. They feel like the first stars of dusk, scattered across a darkening sky. These small, icy particles form the outskirts of the transitional zone. You move through them slowly, mesmerized by the way they turn and catch the faint sunlight. You imagine the camera following you, drifting silently beside your shoulder, capturing the delicate shimmer of frost suspended in infinite black. The light is soft, barely enough to illuminate anything, but enough to reveal the gentle ballet of ancient objects drifting in perfect stillness. Your breathing continues to slow. In, cool, quiet air. Out, sinking deeper into calm. In and out. Each breath carrying you deeper into this gentle dark. You drift farther, and the particles become slightly more numerous, not enough to form a dense field, but enough to hint at what lies ahead. These are the first guardians of the Kuiper Belt, scattered like breadcrumbs along the path. Some are larger now, pebbles, stones, chunks of ice the size of bookshelves, drifting silently and slowly. They glow faintly, like tiny frozen moons wandering alone through a sea of night. Their surfaces are rough and shining, covered in patches of ancient frost. You drift past one such chunk, a jagged shard of ice, perhaps the size of a house. It glimmers with thin silver highlights, reflections of a distant sun that has spent hours traveling just to reach it. Its surface is cracked, fractured, folded over itself like layers of old paint. You pass so close you could almost reach out and touch it, but it remains silent, unmoving except for its slow rotation. Another piece floats nearby, rounded, smoother, almost polished by time. Its surface is pale, dusted in a thin layer of icy grains that sparkle like sugar under faint light. It spins slowly, casting tiny flashes of dull white radiance across the dark. Each object feels like a piece of forgotten history, drifting through eternity without rush or purpose. Their presence calms you, reminding you how small your worries truly are, how gently they can dissolve when placed against the backdrop of billions of years. Ahead, the darkness begins to shimmer again, not from a single object, but from many, dozens, hundreds, not yet dense, but no longer rare. The airless silence fills with a subtle glitter, like stars fallen into the void between worlds. You are entering the threshold. The quiet thickens. The space around you feels softer. Your thoughts slow even further. You may notice your eyelids growing heavier, your body sinking deeper into whatever holds it. This feeling is natural. This journey is meant to bring you toward the brink of sleep, carried by the gentle drift of the universe. The sun now looks like nothing more than a distant diamond, bright enough to shine, but far too weak to warm. Every object around you is touched only by its pale ghost light. No shadows here have edges. They blur softly into the dark. You drift among more icy fragments. Some cluster faintly, forming loose groups that orbit together like families traveling through the night. Others drift alone, solitary wanderers on paths that have never changed. One of these solitary pieces catches your attention. It is larger, glowing faintly with reflected light. You approach it gently. Its surface is rough and layered, etched with strange ridges and cracks that formed long before Earth even existed. Yet it appears calm, perfectly still, as if frozen in time. You drift past it slowly, watching the reflections glide across its icy shell. The moment feels stretched, elongated, dreamlike. Every detail is slow, every glimmer soft, every breath deep. Behind you, the shadows settle. Ahead, the icy shimmer grows stronger. The silence becomes a field you float through, warm and steady, never changing. You may sense the boundary now, not a line you can see, but a feeling, a thinning of the sun's pull, a fading of its light. Space becomes even colder, even calmer. Everything slows. And then, the last sign of the transitional zone reveals itself. A faint, soft glow spread across the dark like dust. It is the combined light of thousands of icy bodies just at the edge of your vision, too faint to see individually, but together forming a pale blanket of shimmer. You drift into that glow. The quiet seems deeper here, thicker, older. The space around you feels wider, as if the universe itself has exhaled and expanded. Your breathing mirrors this, widening your chest, expanding on each inhale, settling on each exhale. There is no resistance, only smooth rhythm. Your mind has grown almost silent now. Thoughts drift slowly, lazily. Some evaporate before they finish forming. The darkness no longer feels empty. It feels full of softness, full of rest. You float as though cradled in night, wrapped in the quiet arms of space itself. And now, gently, without fanfare, without any sudden shift, you approach the invisible border of the Kuiper Belt, an ancient ring of icy worlds, waiting in the deep silence beyond this transitional veil. You drift forward, letting the calm guide you, letting the darkness carry you, letting the universe hold you softly as you enter the realm of frozen time. The gateway opens before you, like the entrance to a dream, quiet, shimmering, infinite. And you drift inside. You drift gently across the invisible threshold, leaving the last quiet shadow of the transition zone behind you. The darkness ahead begins to change subtly at first, so gently that it is almost unnoticeable. A few scattered points of pale light begin to appear, floating like frozen sparks suspended in the void. They glimmer softly, flickering as if waking from an ancient sleep. You have entered the Kuiper Belt. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but like slipping into cool water, where the temperature shifts slowly and naturally. This region stretches across billions of miles, a vast ring wrapping around the outer solar system like a halo made of forgotten time. The Kuiper Belt is ancient, older than Earth's oceans, older than its mountains, older than nearly everything familiar. It is a library of the past, a place where the earliest pieces of the solar system drift quietly, preserved in layers of ice. The first objects appear as small, shimmering flecks, grains of frozen dust, specks of rock, fragments of primordial matter, left untouched for billions of years. They drift calmly, turning slowly, catching the pale sunlight as if coated in faint frost. From a distance, they look like stars fallen out of place, glowing softly in the dark sea. You glide among them, your movement silent and effortless. Each speck seems suspended in a weightless dream, drifting at its own slow pace. Some turn like tiny planets, rotating with gentle inevitability. Others simply float, barely moving, nudged only by the ghost-like pull of distant gravity. The farther you drift, the more abundant these objects become. They sprinkle the dark like glitter spilled across a black surface. They do not cluster tightly, but they appear often enough now that the space around you no longer feels empty. Instead, it feels textured, decorated with ancient fragments of ice and stone, each with its own story. A sea of frozen dust. The words settle in your mind, soft and calming. They describe this place perfectly. It is not a chaotic sea, not a stormy sea, but a gentle, silent one. A sea where every wave moves slowly, where every grain drifts like a feather carried by a breath of wind. As you travel deeper, the objects around you grow larger. You drift past icy boulders the size of tables, then the size of cars, then the size of houses. Each one glimmers with its own faint hue, some gray, some silver blue, some almost white. They turn slowly in the thin, distant sunlight, their surfaces glistening with frost and ancient ice crystals. You glide past a chiseled shard of ice, the size of a building. Its surface is cracked into geometric patterns formed by eons of heating and cooling cycles. Light scatters across these patterns like reflections on a frozen lake. You drift around it, watching its rugged contours glow faintly before fading again into shadow. Another object appears ahead, a rounded, smoother one. Perhaps it once belonged to a world that almost formed but never quite gathered enough strength. Its surface is gentle, worn down by cosmic time. It rotates like a slow lullaby, its motion hypnotic and soothing. The Kuiper Belt is not a chaotic region. It is calm, structured by invisible gravitational hands. The objects follow orbits that rarely collide, each one moving smoothly along its path, like a bead sliding around a circular wire. You can sense the stability, the quiet, the patience. Your breath begins to mimic this steadiness. In and out, long and soft, like drifting itself. The space here feels colder, but the cold is not harsh. It is a quiet cold, a peaceful cold. It refreshes your mind, brushing away the last remnants of tension, leaving you suspended in a kind of cosmic tranquility. You drift past another cluster of icy objects. These are small, like handfuls of frozen dust, gathered together in loose groups. They sparkle as you float near them, scattering soft glints of silver and pale blue into your field of vision. They move so slowly, it feels as though time itself is stretching. Between these icy fragments, darkness fills the space. Deep, still darkness. Not empty, just silent. A silence so complete that it feels like a blanket. Soft, heavy, protective. Every breath you take sinks deeper into that silence, soothing your thoughts, quieting your mind. And then, ahead, something larger begins to emerge. At first, it appears as a faint bulge in the dark, nothing more than a slightly brighter patch of space. But as you drift closer, the shape becomes clearer. You recognize it as one of the first significant Kuiper Belt objects, a small, icy world, far too small to be a planet, yet still far larger than the wandering chunks of debris. Its surface is muted, colored in dusky shades of gray and white. Patches of ice glimmer faintly, like dull diamonds scattered across its surface. Shadows curve along its edges, giving the world a soft, rounded shape that feels almost comforting. You approach gently, drifting close enough to see the details carved by billions of years. Craters pockmark the surface, shallow impressions softened by frost. Ridges and valleys stretch across it like wrinkles in an ancient face. There is beauty in its simplicity, beauty in its age, beauty in its quiet perseverance. You float around this small world, letting its shape fill your vision. It feels peaceful, tired, perhaps, but calm in its solitude. It has drifted here for countless ages, untouched by turmoil, guided only by the careful pull of gravity. As you drift onward, more such worlds begin to appear. Some small, some large, some smooth, some jagged. Each one carries its own whisper of the past. In the far distance, you notice a cluster of faint lights. At first they seem like stars, but as you glide closer, you realize they are reflections, small, icy bodies orbiting one another in a delicate gravitational dance. Two of them drift close together, rotating around a shared center. They circle each other like slow-moving partners, locked in a cosmic waltz that has lasted since the dawn of the solar system. Their movements are elegant, balanced, perfectly synchronized. Watching them feels like watching a slow, cosmic heartbeat. Your breathing slows again, in and out, following the rhythm of their dance. You drift deeper still, and the density of objects increases. The Kuiper Belt begins to reveal its true nature not as a single ring, but as a thick, diffuse cloud of icy bodies stretching across billions of miles. You float through the outskirts, then into the deeper regions, where objects become more frequent, more varied, more striking. One of the larger bodies appears in your path, a dwarf planet candidate, perhaps. It glows softly with a pinkish tint, likely from frozen methane on its crust. Its color is subtle, like blush on cold skin. You drift close to its surface, watching the light play across its frosted texture. Its horizon curves gently beneath you. Shadows stretch and soften as they wrap around its icy plains. Deep cracks form patterns that resemble ancient runes, though you cannot read them. They feel like stories etched into stone stories, written long before Earth was born. You leave it behind, drifting back into the vast stretches of the belt. The icy fragments around you shimmer with increasing frequency. They fill the dark with tiny flashes of reflected light, like snowflakes caught in the distant glow of a lantern. A sea of frozen dust. The phrase returns again, soft as a whisper in your thoughts. And the more you drift through this region, the more perfect it feels. The Kuiper Belt is a sea not of water, but of time. Every particle is a memory, every world a page, every shimmer a faint echo of the past. You drift through this ocean, weightless and serene. You are not an intruder, you are a visitor in the quiet hours of the universe's ancient slumber. You pass by another cluster of icy fragments. This group forms a loosely connected shape, like a small constellation floating just out of reach. They rotate lazily, drifting apart, then drifting closer again. The dance is slow, unhurried, guided by subtle gravitational pulls. One piece catches your eye. It is shaped like a shard of crystal, long and jagged, glowing faintly with a bluish tint. As you float past it, the sunlight refracts through it, scattering pale rays into the darkness. It sparkles like a lone star trapped in a block of ice. You glide around it, watching the scattered light shift as the shard rotates. The moment feels dreamlike, like drifting through a field of frozen stars. Then another object appears, a dark one, almost invisible until you're close. It absorbs most of the light that reaches it, revealing itself only by the slight outline against the faint background glow. It drifts silently, its surface coated in organic compounds formed over billions of years. It looks ancient, mysterious, almost wise. You drift past it slowly, feeling the quiet weight of its age. Time behaves differently out here. It doesn't rush. It doesn't push. It simply expands, stretching gently around every object, every moment. Your body feels heavy now, comfortably heavy. Your breath is deep and slow. The quiet has settled into your bones. The journey has become a meditation, each drifting second carrying you deeper into calm. The Kuiper Belt expands around you like a vast temple of ice. Every fragment, every world, every glimmer of distant sunlight contributes to a grand, serene panorama, silent, slow, and untouched. You drift through this frozen cathedral, guided by nothing more than gravity, breath, and quiet. And as the icy sparkles gather more densely ahead, you sense that you are entering the deeper heart of the belt, where larger worlds hidden in the dark begin to wait. Your journey continues, carried gently through the frozen echo of creation, into the soft glow of the ancient realm ahead. As you drift deeper into the Kuiper Belt, the icy fragments around you begin to glow more brightly. They reflect the thinning sunlight in faint silvers and pale blues, pieces of frozen time moving quietly through the dark. You glide past clusters of dust and shards of ancient ice, past small worlds shaped by gravity and silence. And then, far ahead, barely visible at first, a soft, muted glow begins to rise from the darkness. It is not the glow of a star, nor the glimmer of an icy shard. It is a shape, a world, a distant sphere carved from cold and shadow. A small, quiet planet that once held a place among the others, and still holds a place in the hearts of many who dream of the solar system's edges. This is Pluto. It is small, much smaller than the giants you have passed, but it has presence, a gentle gravity of the soul as much as of mass. It sits alone in the darkness like a lantern made of frost, drifting along its distant, lonely path. As you float closer, Pluto becomes clearer, a bluish-gray sphere wrapped in a thin veil of haze. The sunlight that reaches it is incredibly faint. It would feel like twilight on Earth even in the brightest moment of the day. But the planet glows softly, quietly, touched not by brightness but by subtlety. And there, even from far away, you see it. The heart? A great, pale region shaped like a human heart, stretching across Pluto's surface. Smooth, bright, soft in appearance. It is made of frozen nitrogen and carbon monoxide, a vast glacier of icy light. Its shape feels gentle, almost tender, as though Pluto carries a quiet message for anyone who ventures far enough to notice. You drift closer, the heart growing larger in your vision. Its smoothness contrasts with the rugged, shadowed terrain surrounding it. On one side of Pluto lie dark plains, deep and ancient. On the other, tall mountains of ice rise like shards of broken mirrors. The heart lies between them, a soft blemish on a cold world, glowing faintly like a memory preserved in frost. As you approach its surface, Pluto's gentle atmosphere becomes visible, a thin blue haze that curves around the planet like the softest veil. It looks fragile, almost too delicate to exist in such harsh cold. But it holds, forming layers of faint color that catch the dim sunlight and turn it into a dreamy glow. You drift into that faint haze. It is weightless, silent, a whisper of an atmosphere, thinner than any on Earth. Yet you can almost imagine brushing your hand through it, as if stroking the air of a quiet winter morning. The surface of the heart lies beneath you now. Its texture is not uniform. It is patterned with faint ridges and pits, formed by slow cycles of freezing and evaporation. Regions shaped by time, patterns drawn by temperature and silence, they stretch out like delicate fingerprints across the frozen plain. You float above this glacier, watching as the dim sunlight washes across it in pale strokes. The light moves slowly, sliding across the smooth ice in gradients of white and soft blue. The entire region seems almost alive, breathing in slow, frozen movements. Around the heart, Pluto reveals its more rugged character. You drift toward a region of towering ice mountains, massive structures made of frozen water as hard as rock. They rise several miles high, their peaks catching the faint sunlight and turning it into subtle flashes of silver. These mountains feel ancient, carved by forces that moved slowly and silently over eons. You glide past them, drifting between peaks like a quiet traveler moving through a forgotten kingdom of ice. Shadows fall across deep valleys below, where darkness pools in cold pockets, untouched by light for decades. The silence here feels thicker, colder, deeper. You drift down into one of those valleys. The shadows become dusk, then near darkness. Yet even here the surface glimmers faintly with scattered crystals. You watch tiny specks of frost drift slowly through the low gravity, moving like dust motes in a quiet room. The world feels still, calm, timeless. As you rise again, the horizon unfolds before you, a sweeping curve of blue haze resting on soft gray landscape. Pluto's roundness becomes clear against the blackness of space. It feels smaller than the giants behind you, but the beauty is intimate, almost personal. There is something gentle about Pluto's loneliness, something soothing in its distance, something poetic about its quiet exile. You drift higher, gliding over the border between the heart and the darker regions. The landscape here looks weathered, ancient, rugged. Great cracks run across the ground like frozen rivers. Dark plains stretch far into the horizon, their surfaces coated with Tholin's complex organic compounds that give the world its muted color. These plains are rough but calm, shaped by slow movement over unimaginable time. You drift over craters softened by frost, their edges smoothed by the cold. Shadows settle into them like ink, deep and quiet. A little farther, the surface becomes chaotic, fractured, broken, carved into odd shapes by unknown geological forces. This is a land of silent upheaval. You drift above jagged terrains, nicknamed bladed terrain, on Earth regions of thin, sharp ridges, rising like frozen shards. From above, they look like fields of crystalline knives, lit by pale twilight. But even here, where the landscape is sharp and extreme, the atmosphere remains gentle. The silence remains complete. The motion remains slow. Nothing moves quickly on Pluto. Everything is shaped by time measured not in years, but in millions of years. Your mind feels the stretch of this vast calm, easing into a rhythm that is slower, deeper, and more restful. You drift back toward the heart. This time, you glide low across its surface, letting the smoothness pass beneath you like a frozen sea. You notice subtle textures, small pits formed by sublimation, faint lines shaped by ancient winds, soft gradients where the ice thickens or thins. The heart is officially called Tombaugh Regio, named after the man who discovered Pluto. But names matter little here. What matters is the feeling it creates in you, the softness, the gentle shape, the quiet glow. It feels like the planet is offering something. A symbol, a breath, a whisper. You drift across its brightest region, Sputnik Planitia, a basin of nitrogen ice so reflective that it glows even under weak sunlight. Its surface is patterned with cell-like structures, shaped by slow convection in the icy crust. These cells look like massive frozen tiles, each one the size of a city. They rise slightly at their centers and dip at their edges, creating a landscape that resembles frozen bubbles. You glide above them, watching their subtle shapes blend into one another. The light moves across them like liquid silver, smoothing the sharp lines into gentle arcs. Beyond the plains, the atmosphere thickens slightly, forming layers of haze. The haze glows faint blue when sunlight passes through it. You drift through it again, watching the delicate layers stack like sheets of pale smoke. Each layer is thin, barely visible, but together they form a shimmering aura that gives Pluto its soft, dreamlike outline. You drift higher, rising slowly above the whole heart. The curved surface spreads beneath you in a soft, pale shape. The glaciers and plains blend into a single, gentle silhouette. The surrounding terrain darkens around it, making the heart stand out even more. From up here, Pluto looks like a symbol carved into a world, a small light in a lonely place, a message written in ice. You turn your gaze outward now to Charon, Pluto's large moon. It appears nearby, a gray world almost half the size of Pluto itself. The two bodies orbit each other like slow dancers, locked together so closely that they always show the same face. You drift gently toward Charon, watching the two worlds circle their shared center of gravity. Charon's surface is rougher, darker, covered in deep canyons and scarred plains. It appears stoic, quiet, loyal. The two worlds pull at each other in a slow embrace, bound together by gravity and time. Their dance is gentle, hypnotic, eternal. You drift between them, feeling the subtle balance of forces. Pluto, on one side soft, glowing with its pale heart. Charon on the other, steady, dark, protective. Together, they form a system unlike any other in the solar system, a double world, orbiting in quiet harmony on the edge of everything. You let their stillness settle into you. You let the silence deepen in your chest. You let your breath become as slow as their orbit, in and out. A steady rhythm measured in the language of distant worlds. You drift back toward Pluto one last time. The heart glows softly below, its icy surface reflecting pale light like a frosted mirror. The haze curls around it in blue layers. The mountains rise quietly on its edge. The plains stretch into the dark. You feel the calm of this world wrapping around you like a soft blanket. The gentle isolation, the ancient quiet, the slow, frozen heartbeat of the world. You drift upward, rising above Pluto's North Pole, watching as the entire sphere slowly rotates beneath you. Light spills across its surface in a subtle gradient. Shadows stretch across its plains, long and gentle. In this moment, Pluto feels like a lantern made of frozen breath, glowing softly in the endless dark. You drift farther, the planet growing smaller with each passing moment, but its presence stays with you, the heart, the haze, the soft blue glow. Even as Pluto becomes a tiny dot of light behind you, the calm it brought settles deep inside your mind. You continue your journey forward, deeper into the Kuiper Belt, carried by silence, by darkness, by ancient ice. The small heart of ice remains behind, a soothing memory drifting quietly in the vastness. Your path now leads farther toward stranger worlds, colder fragments, and deeper peace. As Pluto's faint glow softens behind you, the silence of the Kuiper Belt deepens once more. The icy fragments drift more thickly here, suspended in slow spirals of ancient motion. They shimmer like scattered sparks across the night. Each tiny reflection pulses faintly, then fades again, like the breathing of the universe. You drift quietly with them, carried by a gentle tide of darkness. Your movement is effortless, your thoughts slow to a steady, calm rhythm. Every breath becomes wider, smoother, more spacious, as though the cold air of this remote frontier is washing through your chest. Ahead, the darkness begins to shift, very softly, very subtly, as though something large is hiding beneath the black, waiting to reveal its shape. The first of the distant dwarf worlds appears, a long, stretched, gleaming object drifting like a pale shard of glass. This is Haumea. It does not look like the round worlds you've seen before. Haumea is elongated, shaped like an egg or a river stone, worn into an unusual form. Its surface shines brightly, more brightly than any other known object out here, because it is coated almost entirely in fresh, frozen water ice. Sunlight, though faint, reflects sharply off its crust, giving Haumea a crisp, glowing sheen. As you drift toward it, the shape becomes clearer, long, sleek, spinning rapidly. Haumea rotates so fast that it stretches out from centrifugal force, becoming an elongated world instead of a sphere. Its rotation is a blur. One full day passes in only a few hours. But from your drifting vantage point, the motion feels graceful, not frantic. The spin creates a subtle shimmer across its icy surface, like moonlight sliding across a river. You glide closer, watching the light shift across Haumea's ridges and valleys. The ice here is pure and cold, almost glass-like. It carries a blue tint where shadows fall and glows white where sunlight touches it. Dust from the Kuiper Belt rests gently in thin patches, softening some edges, highlighting others. Haumea's shape feels elegant, almost musical, an object stretched by time and motion into something sculptural. Its long axis rotates toward you, then away, revealing patterns of brightness that pulse softly with its rhythm. As you drift above one of its poles, you see faint hints of coloration, tiny areas of darker red tint. Scientists believe these markings may come from organic compounds or ancient impacts. Yet from here, they look like gentle strokes of paint on an icy canvas. Haumea is not alone. Two tiny moons drift around it, Namaka and Hi'iaka. They orbit Haumea in slow, soft arcs. Hi'iaka, the larger, shimmers faintly with its own icy surface. Namaka drifts closer, a faint point of reflected light circling quietly. Their orbits feel like a delicate dance, tiny companions moving through the cold with patience and grace. You drift above them, letting Haumea's elongated shape slide beneath you, its icy crust glowing softly like a crystal in moonlight. The silence here is thick, serene, ancient. Haumea fades slowly behind you as you glide onward, carried deeper into the belt. Ahead, the darkness shifts again, this time with a subtle red glow. At first, it appears like a muted ember, barely glowing against the void. But as you approach, the glow grows clearer, revealing a round, dusty red world. Its color is soft, not vivid like Mars, but muted, subdued, almost shy, a warm contrast to the icy blues and silvers around it. This is Makemake, a lonely dwarf planet painted with gentle shades of red and orange, drifting silently through an orbit far from the warmth of the Sunday. As you float closer, Makemake's surface reveals itself in more detail. It is a dry world, coated in frozen methane that gives it the reddish, peach-like hue. The surface looks solid and still, like frozen clay mixed with dusty frost. Shadows settle into shallow depressions, giving the land a faint texture that ripples softly beneath the dim light. Makemake is round, compact, and calm. It turns slowly, unhurried, allowing the faint sunlight to crawl across its plains in long, delicate gradients. The light is soft enough that no sharp edges exist here. Everything blends into everything else. The colors, the textures, the shadows. You drift low over its surface. There are no mountains as tall as Pluto's icy peaks, no deep cuts like Charon's canyons. Makemake is quieter, smoother, more uniform. Its world is one of subtle variations, small hills, shallow basins, sweeping plains of frozen hydrocarbons. The simplicity has its own comfort. It feels peaceful, content, a world that has accepted its solitude with serenity. You glide above one of its pale regions patches where volatile ices have collected, giving the area a soft, powdery brightness. These fields stretch like silent snowbanks, glowing faintly even in the dim light. You watch the glow ripple gently as Makemake's rotation carries it forward. You drift higher, letting the planet fill your view. Its gentle red hues feel warm, even in the cold. They soothe the mind. They soften the thoughts. They invite rest. Makemake has one small moon so small that it went unnoticed for many years. It drifts around the planet like a tiny ghost, barely visible from this distance. You glimpse it, a faint spark moving in a slow arc, tiny and delicate. Its motion is so subtle that it feels like a quiet heartbeat in the dark. The moon's light fades quickly behind you as you drift onward. And now, the darkness ahead grows sharper, colder, brighter, not from warmth, but from reflection. A pale object appears in the void, bright enough to stand out clearly, even with the sun so distant. This is Eris, Pluto's rival, a world so reflective and cold that it gleams like a shard of frozen metal. Eris is larger than Pluto, icy and dense, coated in a shining shell of nitrogen frost. It drifts incredibly far from the sun, so far that the golden light fades to a thin whisper before reaching it. Yet its surface reflects nearly all of that weak light, making the dwarf planet appear bright, crisp, and sharp against the dark. As you approach, Eris grows in your vision, like a pearl carved from winter. Its brightness is not warm. It is the brightness of polished ice, untouched and unmelted for billions of years. You float closer until details begin to emerge. The surface is smooth in places, rugged in others. Patches of frost give it a mottled appearance, white and silver mixed with areas of faint gray. Eris does not glow softly like Pluto's heart, nor shine faintly like Haumea's ice. It glints clean, cold, pristine. You glide around its equator, watching the reflected sunlight sweep across its frozen plains like a slow-moving spotlight. The light bends, scatters, and stretches. The entire surface seems to shimmer with crisp clarity, even at such a distance from the Sunday. Eris feels quiet, but in a different way. Its quiet is heavier, older, colder. It feels like a world that has been sleeping for a very, very long time. You drift closer to its moon Dysnomia, a dim, round shape, a companion in exile. Dysnomia orbits Eris in a soft, looping arc. Its surface is darker, absorbing more light, making it appear as a muted sphere floating beside its bright parent world. Their dance is slow, subtle, steady. Watching them feels like observing a tiny, silent family drifting in the endless dark. As you drift past Eris, you see the faint halo of sunlight that outlines its distant edge. The limb of the planet glows like the contour of cold silver. The light fades gently into the surrounding dark, forming a perfect gradient. You take in the entire scene: Eris, bright and cold, the moon circling, the icy reflections drifting across its surface. Everything is still, everything is old, everything is quiet. Your breath slows again. Your chest rises and falls in gentle waves. Your mind drifts like dust through the faint light. You begin to pull away, Eris shrinking slowly behind you. But the clarity of its cold glow remains etched like a delicate line across your memory. You feel the loneliness of these distant worlds, the calmness of their exile, the softness of their slow orbits. Haumea, stretched and glimmering. Make, warm red and quiet. Eris, bright and cold as ancient ice. Three worlds, three voices of silence. Three shapes drifting at the edge of everything. You carry their calm with you as you drift farther into the Kuiper Belt. The ancient quiet softens your thoughts. Your breath grows heavier. Your mind becomes light and quiet. Ahead, the darkness gathers once more. The next region waits quiet, cold, serene, ready to lead you deeper into the gentle, endless night. Far beyond the quiet orbits of Pluto, Haumea, Make, and Eris, the Kuiper Belt expands into a deeper, wider region. The icy fragments around you drift in slow, dreamy swarms, shimmering faintly in the pale glow of a sun so distant it feels like a memory. The darkness here is colder, thicker, softer than anywhere you have traveled before. Every breath you take feels calmer. Every moment stretches out like a long, peaceful exhale. You drift among countless icy bodies, large ones, small ones, and those too tiny to see, until you are almost beside them. They glimmer in soft blues, pale grays, and faint silvers. Each fragment floats on a gentle path, orbiting the sun with no urgency, no turbulence, no sound. And all of them, from the smallest grains to the largest dwarf planets, play a quiet role in shaping the solar system. It is here, in this frozen frontier, that the makers of comets are born. Not comets as you see them near Earth, bright, glowing, with long tails of dust and gas. Not yet. Here, they exist in their earliest form, small, dark, icy seeds, waiting patiently in the cold. Their journeys have not begun. Their tails have not formed. Their orbits have not shifted inward. They are simply drifting, suspended in deep time, storing the energy of future motion. You pass one such seed no larger than a mountain, but minuscule against the scale of space. Its surface is dark, coated in organic compounds that have grown deeper and redder over billions of years of exposure to cosmic rays. It spins slowly, like a pebble drifting in water. Nothing about it suggests the bright, fiery beauty it will one day display as a comet. Yet the potential lies within it, quiet, dormant, patient. You drift alongside it for a moment, watching faint highlights flicker across its uneven surface. Craters mark its crust, ridges twist around its shape, tiny flecks of dust cling to its icy shell. It looks like an object sculpted by silence and age. Then, softly, you continue drifting forward. More such seeds glide past you, some darker, some brighter, some smoother, some rugged. They all wait. They all dream of warmer skies. The Kuiper Belt is a nursery of countless cometary hearts, but most will never leave this place. Most will drift forever in the cold. Only a small number are chosen, by the subtle pull of gravity whispers from Neptune, murmurs from Jupiter, the faint nudge of distant stars. You float silently among these potential travelers, imagining their future paths. The icy fragments around you move in loose harmony, held by the gravity of the sun, yet drifting freely enough to wobble, to sway, to shift when touched by some distant influence. Sometimes the nudge comes from Neptune, sometimes from the pull of multiple planets, aligning by chance, sometimes from a tiny gravitational tap from another passing object. The forces are gentle, but over millions of years, gentle is enough. You drift close to another icy body, a little larger, a little brighter. Its surface shows signs of past movement, cracks, faint jets frozen mid-escape, patches where frost has been redistributed. It may have already begun a journey once, long ago, only to return to the cold and wait for another push. Its story is etched into its crust, quiet, patient, ancient. You glide around it. You feel the calm of its slow rotation. You sense the long, deep time carved into its icy skin. Then you drift on. Farther ahead, a cluster of these dark, cometary seeds drift together in a loose spiral. They circle one another slowly, bound by a soft gravitational bond that will eventually separate. You watch them rotate gracefully, like dancers moving in a silent, frozen waltz. Their paths weave in and out without collision, guided by the delicate choreography of physics. You float through the cluster, feeling the quiet intimacy of their motions. Each one carries within it the possibility of becoming a bright visitor to the inner solar system. But for now, they sleep, nestled in the cold like embers waiting for a warm breeze. You drift deeper still, and the density of objects increases. The Kuiper Belt begins to resemble a wide field of drifting frost, thin in some areas, thicker in others. Soft glimmers rise and fall around you, like stars swirling through a slow dream. Every direction you look, the shimmer continues, fading gradually into deeper darkness. And then you see one. A comet, not yet a comet, but on the verge of becoming one. It is slightly warmer than the others, not warm by human standards, but warm enough that its outermost layers have begun to respond. Tiny jets of gas, so faint they are almost invisible, puff gently from its surface. The cooling sunlight, even at this distance, has touched it just enough to wake the first signs of motion. The jets drift silently into the dark, creating thin trails that dissipate almost instantly. You drift beside it, watching the slow birth of transformation. The faintest sigh of sublimation, the first whisper of a future tale. This small awakening hints at the long journey ahead, a journey inward, toward light, toward warmth, toward motion. But the journey has not truly begun. The comet remains here, bound still by the Kuiper Belt, drifting softly among its siblings. You follow it for a moment, letting its slow rotation guide your own drifting. Its surface is darker than charcoal in some places, lighter in others. When the sunlight strikes its crystalline patches, the reflections sparkle like tiny, frozen fireflies. A faint trail of dust streams behind it, thin, fragile, ephemeral. Then it fades into the dark once more as you glide forward. You drift through the quiet heart of the Kuiper Belt now. Icy bodies surround you in all directions, moving in slow harmony. Some are spherical, shaped by their own gravity. Some are jagged, broken by ancient impacts. Some are clusters, 2 or 3 or 4 pieces bound together, moving as a single, gentle unit. And within each one, the possibility of becoming a comet lies dormant, like a sleeping memory. You pass one of the larger bodies, a world not quite a dwarf planet, but far bigger than most comets. Its surface is uneven, covered with patterns that resemble frozen scars. It drifts slowly, casting thin shadows across the small fragments around it. Its presence feels heavy, ancient, wise. From this region deep within the Kuiper Belt, comets begin their slow migrations. They may drift here for billions of years before receiving the subtle gravitational whisper that sends them inward. Once nudged, They embark on a long, winding journey, a slow spiral toward the Sunday. But the journey is not violent. It is soft, gradual, measured in centuries or millennia. You imagine one such object beginning its path. A faint pull from Neptune's gravity shifts its orbit slightly. The object drifts a little closer to the Sunday. The sunlight grows faintly brighter. Tiny jets wake on its surface again. Its motion changes by fractions, imperceptible at first. But the path has begun. You drift along this imaginary path, feeling the subtle change in momentum. The silence remains, but it deepens. The dark remains, but it becomes richer. The objects around you thin out slightly as you move toward the inner edge of the belt. Your mind sinks deeper into calm. Your body grows heavier, as though gravity has become warm and gentle. Your breath becomes slow and soft, as though the quiet itself is breathing with you. You float over a small cluster of icy bodies and watch as one slowly shifts away from the group, guided by gravity's faint touch. Its path tilts slightly inward. Over centuries, it will drift closer to the sun, shedding layers of ice as it melts. A tail will form. Its coma will glow like a lantern, and it will pass by the inner worlds, leaving a shimmering trail behind. But for now, it sleeps. It is still. It waits. You drift alongside it as if listening to its silent dream. You drift through a field of glittering fragments, each one turning softly in the faint light. You drift deeper into the belt, letting the fabric of this frozen sea cradle your thoughts. The Kuiper Belt is not chaos. It is not danger. It is not violence. It is patience. It is time made visible. It is silence shaped into worlds. It is the nursery where comets grow. You pass another cluster, then another, and each one glimmers softly like constellations drifting through the dark. Their light is weak, but their presence is warm, calming your senses as you drift. Your entire journey through this region feels like floating through a dream. Slow, weightless, gentle. Each icy fragment is a tiny reminder of how vast and ancient the universe is, and how small human burdens become when placed beside such quiet enormity. You drift onward, breathing slowly, deeply, softly. Ahead lies the deeper outer edge of the Kuiper Belt, a region where mysteries linger, where whispers of unknown planets stir in the silence, where the comets sleep until the universe calls them toward the light. Your journey continues, carried by calm, wrapped in darkness, guided by the slow breath of distant worlds. The farther you drift into the Kuiper Belt, the more the darkness changes. It grows deeper, quieter, heavier, not in a way that presses on you, but in a way that feels ancient and endless. The icy fragments that once shimmered so brightly begin to thin again, spreading out into wider, softer patterns. The space around you becomes vast, so vast that it feels almost like floating in a dream with no edges. You glide gently through this widening void, letting the silence settle into your breath. In and out, slow and calm, matching the cold rhythm of the distant dark. The familiar icy bodies drift behind you. Pluto, Haumea, Makemake, Eris. Their faint glows fade into tiny sparks, then into nothing at all. Only the quiet remains. Ahead, there is no obvious shape, no bright world, no shining moon. Only darkness, soft, velvety, infinite. And yet, something feels different here, as though the void is holding its breath, as though the darkness is not empty, but waiting. You drift deeper. The silence grows denser, richer. Your body sinks into it, letting the slow stillness cradle your thoughts. In this distant region of the solar system, there is a whisper of something unseen. Scientists have searched for it. Simulations hint at it. Gravity itself seems to murmur its name. But no telescope has captured its shape. No camera has traced its form. And yet, the calculations suggest that something is here. A hidden influence. A distant shepherd of icy orbits. a ghost giant. Planet 9. Not confirmed, not photographed, not proven, but felt in the way distant Kuiper Belt objects move, in the way their orbits cluster mysteriously, as if drawn by the soft gravity of something massive and unseen. You drift into this region, where the whispers of that unseen presence feel strongest. The darkness around you thickens, becoming a backdrop of infinite depth. It is in this quiet that the possibility of Planet 9 lingers like a shadow. You continue drifting forward, and though nothing appears at first, you can feel a subtle shift, a quiet, delicate tension in the invisible fabric around you. Gravity moves differently here. The icy bodies you pass drift in patterns more elongated, more tilted. Their orbits seem influenced by something not visible, something just beyond sight. You pass one such object, a distant, icy world with an odd, stretched-out orbit. It tilts strangely. It loops far outside the typical plane of the solar system. It feels as though it is dancing around an invisible partner. You drift beside it for a moment. Its surface is dark and cold, frosted over with layers of methane ice. Its slow rotation casts faint glints of pale blue along its ridges. It moves with purpose, quiet, ancient purpose, guided by a gravitational pull you cannot see. You continue drifting. Another object appears, its orbit aligned strangely with the first. Then another. Then another. Each one points towards something hidden, as though pulled by a deep, slow heartbeat echoing through the dark. Planet 9 is not a world anyone has seen, not a world anyone can confirm, but it leaves fingerprints, faint, gravitational fingerprints on everything around it. You drift into that field of influence now, entering the region shaped by a giant no one has yet found. The space feels different here, not brighter, not louder, just deeper, like the quiet before a snowfall, like the breath the universe takes before revealing something beautiful. You glide slowly forward, and the darkness begins to shift, not with light, but with presence. Something massive lies somewhere ahead, maybe close, maybe far, hidden in shadow, wrapped in the pale glow of a distant sun that barely touches it. You drift through the region of possibility. In your mind, imagine a world the size of Neptune, or perhaps smaller but incredibly dense. A world coated with frozen gases, drifting so far from the sun that even noon would look like a blue twilight. A world where temperatures plunge below anything known on Earth. A world so silent, so cold, so slow, that time itself feels frozen. Planet 9 might look like that. A pale blue or deep indigo sphere, shrouded in faint atmosphere, rotating slowly, alone in the dark. No rings, no bright storms, just a quiet, icy giant, drifting on a path so distant that one orbit could take tens of thousands of Earth years. You drift farther. In the darkness, your imagination fills the void, and the void accepts it, gently, without contradiction. Perhaps Planet 9 sits far above the plane of the other worlds, tilted, distinct, moving through its own private corridor of shadow. Perhaps it has moons, small, frozen companions that follow it through the dark like tiny candles drifting around a lantern. Or perhaps it is alone, utterly alone, a solitary wanderer exiled beyond the familiar planets, keeping slow, silent watch over the outer frontier. You drift deeper still, letting the imagined silhouette of Planet 9 take form in your thoughts. A faint glow, a soft circle, a distant pulse. Nothing strong enough to break the peace, only enough to suggest existence. The region around you remains quiet. No sudden shapes, no abrupt lights, only the soft shimmer of distant dust, drifting like slow snowflakes. You pass by a small cluster of icy fragments, tiny objects whose orbits point in the same direction, as though bowing gently toward an unseen gravity well. Their alignment is unnatural, improbable without guidance. They rotate in silent arcs, tracing invisible paths around an absent giant. You drift among them, feeling the gentle pull of their motion. Their slow spins, their faint glints, their quiet obedience to something far away. Planet Nine's gravity may be soft here, but it stretches across billions of miles. A silent hand shaping orbits. A quiet presence sculpting the edges of the solar system. You imagine the world itself, large, cold, serene. Its atmosphere dimly lit. Its clouds frozen into long, delicate layers. Its core warm from ancient heat. Its path lonely, slow, unchanging. A ghost giant drifting through eternal night. You drift farther through the darkness, letting your mind brush against the idea of this hidden planet. Not a sharp idea. Not a vivid image. Just a soft impression like the memory of a dream you can almost remember. The void around you grows even quieter. Your breathing deepens. Your thoughts melt into long, gentle currents. You feel yourself sinking into the calm of this unseen presence. Planet 9, real or not, becomes a symbol of the unknown, the distant, the hidden, the quiet mysteries that linger at the edge of existence. You drift onward, letting the darkness thicken again as you move beyond the region of gravitational whispers. The icy orbits begin to widen, the alignments soften, the influence fades, but the stillness remains. You pass a final cluster of objects whose paths hint at the ghost giant's presence. Their elongated shapes feel like farewell gestures, their quiet motion like a closing curtain. Beyond them, the darkness returns to its undisturbed state, calm, deep, timeless. Planet 9 may or may not exist, but in this moment, drifting through the quietest realms of the Kuiper Belt, you feel the possibility. A quiet echo, a shadow of gravity, a hidden giant sleeping in the cold. Your breath becomes softer, your thoughts dim further, your body sinks deeper into rest. The ghost giant fades behind you, if it was ever there at all, leaving nothing but the vast, soothing dark. You drift forward, carried toward the final stretch of this distant frontier. The silence deepens. The stars grow faint, and the gentle pull of sleep grows stronger. Ahead lies the last chapter of your journey, a gentle descent into deeper stillness, where the universe softens into a final, peaceful fade. The darkness around you has grown so deep, so soft, so complete, that it no longer feels like the absence of light. It feels like a presence, a gentle presence, a warm, enveloping quiet that wraps itself around your thoughts like a soft blanket. Every trace of the solar system now lies behind you, stretched along an invisible thread of memory. The sun is no more than a pale dot lost in the distance. Pluto and its heart have slipped into shadow. Haumea's bright spin has dissolved into the dark. Makemake's warm red has faded into nothingness. Eris and its icy shine have been swallowed by the void. Even the whisper of Planet 9, real or imagined, has vanished behind the curtain of night. Ahead of you lies only silence. A peaceful, endless silence. The kind of silence that invites your mind to drift gently away. The kind of silence that smooths every ripple of thought. The kind of silence that holds you softly, like a calm hand resting on your shoulder. You continue to float, effortless and weightless, carried by nothing but stillness. Your breath slows, your body settles. Your thoughts dissolve into soft, spacious echoes. There is no longer up or down, near or far, only the soothing darkness, stretching endlessly, inviting you deeper into rest. Imagine yourself drifting through this quiet, like a snowflake falling through a soft winter night. Silent, slow, suspended, peaceful. There is no destination, no need for motion. The universe is holding you just as you are, exactly where you need to be. The last hints of starlight shimmer faintly along the distant horizon of the void. They blink softly, slowly, like the final embers of a fading fireplace. They do not call for your attention. They simply exist, comforting in their gentle persistence. You drift past them. Their faint glow becomes a dim memory, and then even that memory melts away. The darkness becomes thicker, richer, not heavy, just deep as a dream, as deep as sleep. Your breath sinks with it naturally. In, a soft tide rising. Out, a gentle tide falling. In, cool, quiet air. Out, warm, sinking rest. Your body feels heavier now, pleasantly heavy, as though gravity itself has softened into a warm embrace. The muscles in your shoulders relax. Your chest loosens. Your hands grow warm. Your face softens. Even the small muscles around your eyes release into stillness. You drift deeper into the night, deeper into calm, deeper into the quiet that waits patiently at the edge of everything. There is no thought pressing for space, no memory tugging at your awareness, no worry trying to stay awake. Only softness, only stillness, only the slow, gentle rhythm of drifting through the dark. Imagine the universe breathing with you. Its exhale is the cool darkness brushing against your skin. Its inhale is the peace flowing into your chest. You move with this breath. You belong to this quiet. You are part of this calm. Deep ahead in the dark, you sense a faint, soft glow, not bright, not sharp, but warm in its gentleness. It is not a distant world, not a star, not a planet, but something quieter, something closer. The glow is your own rest, your own sleep, forming slowly around you, like a cocoon of calm. You drift into it. The glow feels like a warm blanket settling across your shoulders, like soft light behind closed eyes, like the quiet moment before dreams begin. Your consciousness grows lighter, like a feather slowly falling. Your thoughts become slower, like ripples fading on a still lake. Your mind becomes open and spacious, like a quiet meadow under a dark sky. There is nothing you need to hold on to, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to finish. The journey has brought you exactly where you need to be. In this quiet place, beyond the edge of everything, sleep begins to gather itself around you gently, patiently, lovingly. It curls around your mind, whispering to every part of you that the time for rest has finally come. You allow it. Your breath becomes shallow and warm. Your limbs grow heavier. Your mind relaxes into soft stillness. You drift deeper. The darkness becomes your blanket. The quiet becomes your pillow. The slow movement becomes your lullaby. The universe holds you closer now, rocking you with its gentle, eternal stillness. You drift through a silence so wide it feels infinite. You drift through a calm so deep it feels eternal. You drift through a peacefulness so soft it feels like floating through velvet. Your body grows distant. Your thoughts melt. Your awareness softens into long, hazy shapes. You drift deeper. The faintest glimmers of the Kuiper Belt fade behind you, becoming a distant memory, becoming a soft blur, becoming nothing at all. The void whispers to you not in words, but in feeling. Rest. Drift. Sleep. You let yourself sink. Your mind eases into the dark like a ship sinking through calm waters. Slowly, gently, peacefully. Your breath follows. Slow, steady, quiet. You drift deeper. The darkness is warm now, comforting, safe. It wraps around every part of you, holding you like a soft embrace. Your inner thoughts become dim shapes, drifting just beyond reach. Your awareness becomes a quiet spark floating in a vast field of night. You drift deeper still. Your eyelids feel heavy. Your breathing softens. Your mind floats as if suspended between worlds. This is the final drift, the gentle descent into sleep, the calm at the edge of the universe. You let yourself go. Let yourself surrender. Let yourself rest. The darkness whispers again, softer now, almost like a breath against your ear. Rest now. Sleep now. You are safe. The universe holds you. The quiet holds you. The night holds you. Drift deeper. Let go of the day. Let go of thought. Let go of wakefulness. Drift deeper. Your breath is slow. Your body is soft. Your mind is fading into warmth and dark. Drift deeper. The night cradles you. The stars fade. The world disappears. Only calm remains. Drift deeper into stillness, into comfort, into sleep. The journey continues now, without thought, without awareness, carried by the quiet, guided by the dark, wrapped in the softest peace you have ever known. Drift, rest, sleep, and let the universe watch over you gently. As you fade into dreams,